You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you, taking a lap of the extra mile for today, July 25th, 2024. And my, oh my, there are some folks that just need to shut up and drive this week after some, let's say, controversial comments that were made by several across the motorsports landscape. And to help me talk about all of that, of course, my co-host, Jenn B, Michael Ward. Say hi.
Hello.
What's up, everybody?
Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Hey, make sure you get your comments in on the YouTube or Twitter, wherever you are watching tonight. And make sure to follow us on X, IG, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. So it's great to be back. Great to be back. Let's go ahead and pay some bills. As you all know, iSports Radio is available on all those wonderful podcast platforms you see at the bottom, including Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. If you want to know more about this show, make sure to check out www.iesportsradio.com/the extra mile and at extra mile IESR. And of course, we wanted to thank our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole nother planet, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And of course, before we go any further, let's go ahead and pay some bills with these messages from our sponsors. We'll be right back to jump into the show.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
And we are back here on iSports Radio. Get our key for all that is sports. Make sure if you're watching on Twitter, make sure to get your comments in. We've got 10 viewers on already. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get into things on tonight's episode. First, Jenn B, Michael, I did go to Thunder on the Chop Tank this weekend. It was a wonderful boat race out there in Cambridge, Maryland. The Jersey Speed Skiffs were well attended, and TKO Racing took a 1-2 finish in their final. And I have to find you a picture of the Jersey Speed Skiffs because these boats are absolutely they're probably the scariest things out there on the water. And there's unlimited hydroplanes that'll be running this weekend. But the thing about the Jersey Speed Skiff is goes about 70 miles per hour. It's a little two-person boat. They are slow enough to where they can still make wheel-to-wheel contact or deck-to-deck contact. And there were several hair-raising moments. Here's a speed skiff for you to check out.
I think I've seen those before. Don't they aren't they really nimble too, kind of?
Yeah, they're surprisingly nimble for what they are, but some incredible racing that we saw out in Cambridge. Cannot wait until the Cambridge Classic coming up in May. And H1 Unlimited, I've always got a soft spot for them. They'll be in action this weekend in Tri-Cities for the Columbia Cup that you can watch this weekend on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel. But we're going to get started first with the NHRA as Gage Herrera finally meets his match in the NHRA. He goes down to Chris Van Zant in the final of the NHRA Northwest Nationals that was held out at Pacific Raceways in Kent, Washington. I'll show you the results on the screen of your winners that weekend. Steve Torrance, Austin Prock, Jake Coughlin Jr. win your other pro categories in that event. And you can see at the bottom, Chase Van Zant winning Pro Stock motorcycle. And that's going to lead us swiftly into our next conversation, which I have been waiting on this one all week. There's been some controversy in Pro Stock motorcycle this year with the competitiveness of one Gage Herrera and the Vance and Hine motorcycles. Now, Richard Gatson and Gage Herrera have been extremely quick this year, and some of the riders think that it's not very fair that bike is so fast. One of those people is Matt Smith. After Matt went out in round number, let me make sure I get this right as we go over to the Pro Stock motorcycle standings. Now, after there were only 12 bikes that decided to make the trip out to Pacific Raceways for the Northwest Nationals, which is always a tough sell for the bikes due to, we'll keep it a buck. The bikes aren't the most well-funded category, excuse me, of the pro category. It's just how it is when it comes to motorcycle racing. And of course, the perceived lack of competitiveness towards the Vance and Hine motorcycles, only 12 bikes showed up in Pacific Raceway. One of those bikes was Matt Smith, who got to the semis against eventual winner Chase Van Zant and was unable to make the start because of issues with the bike. That's going to be important later. Well, an Auto Week article came out today that stated that Matt Smith is threatening to pull his 5 bikes from NHRA competition if the Vance and Hine motorcycles are not paired back. And Michael, Jenn B, I read that and I just threw my hands high in the air because what exactly are we doing?
Playground games. I'm taking my toys and I'm going home.
Yeah. And Michael, we're no strangers to this. We've heard this in other motorsports. We've heard it in Formula One. Every so often, one team gets stronger than the others. I know pot calling the kettle black. I'm a Mercedes fan. We know how Red Bull has been, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. And as Larry B says, you better stop winning or I'm leaving. Oh. Michael, you there? Michael's having some microphone issues, so we will. Oh, wait, I think we got him back.
Hello?
Michael, you there?
Hello?
There we go. We got you now.
Okay. Like I said, I think it's kind of ridiculous because, if a team or if somebody is too strong, shouldn't you try to work your hardest to, I don't know, beat them?
Well, this comes back to a perceived bias towards the V4 that Gage Herrera and the Vance and Hine bikes use compared to the V-twin of Matt Smith Racing and the Suzukis, but we're going to play a little game here. I've got up now the NHRA results. We're going to go through the NHRA, how the Pro Stock Motorcycle class is shaken out this year. We're going to start with the opening Amelie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. Gage Herrera qualified on the pole. Matt Smith was number 2, I believe. Yes, he was. They made it all the way to the final, and Gage Herrera was just on one this weekend. I will admit that. He takes the win handily with a 663 with a 6 at 204.39 miles per hour. Matt Smith, 6.748 seconds in a losing effort. They do not go out to the next events in Pomona or Arizona. We're going to skip the 4 wides for purposes of this discussion because those are completely different events compared to what we are talking about when they are side by side, when it's just 2 bikes out there instead of 4. So we go to Chicago, and we'll let that load. You see Gage Herrera picked up the win there. And of course, the website does not want to load because it wants to embarrass me. So we're going to try this. That a new tab. We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live, but we're going to go ahead and go into Chicago because now we've got it up. I'm going to close that one. There we go. So there is Chicago. Go down to Pro Stock Motorcycle. Matt Smith actually qualifies first here. Remember, this is the bike that's so slow it can't compete. He goes to the second round and loses to Chase Van Zandt. A 35 light beaten by a 12 light. And Chase Van Zandt gets to the finish line first. Gage Herrera qualifies in the number 2 spot. Hits some great lights, except for this light here on round number 1. Ends up winning the entire event. Bikes are not at the New England Nationals. We're going to go to the Thunder Valley Nationals. And Larry, yes, the internet's pulling a Matt Smith. Going to load that up. You see Tony Schumacher won in Top Fuel. We're going to go to the Pro Stock Motorcycle. Gage takes the win, but look who qualified first. It's the bike that can't compete. Matt Smith, number 1. Goes 680 with a 7 in round number 1. Gets a bye into the semis against Gage Herrera. And a 43 gets smoked by a 24 off the tree. But look whose bike was faster. 682 with a 4 for Matt Smith at 198.82 miles per hour. 682 with a 5. Gage Herrera with the win. 198.12 miles per hour. A whole shot for Herrera, who ends up beating Gianna Evaristo in the final, who just has a terrible light, a 130, which in the NHRA, if your reaction time is starting with a 1, you're done. So we move to the Play NHRA Virginia Nationals. Gage Herrera there in ends up winning the race, but we go to the ladder. This is going to be the second straight race where, hold on. Once this loads, I believe we're going to see Matt Smith at the top of the board. Remember, this is the guy that can't compete, guys. This is the guy whose V-twin can't compete with the V4 of Vance and Hines, and they're ruining the class. But this is the guy that's qualifying on top of the board. Actually, I'll be fair. Gage Herrera qualifies number 1 here. Matt Smith was number 3. But look what happened in round number 1. Off the tree, Angie Smith, his wife, 16 off the tree. Matt Smith, 63. Absolutely smoked off the tree. So then we go to the summit. Actually, we skipped over one. Sorry, we're going to go back to the Sure Grip Thunder Valley Nationals. This was the second straight race where Matt Smith qualified on the pole. He gets all the way to the semis. We talked about that one. So just want to make sure we got that clear. So then we go to Norwalk in Ohio. Gage Herrera does end up picking up the win. Matt Smith, though, was in there with a shout. As we go to the pro motorcycle ladder, Matt Smith on the top of the board. He gets all the way to the final against Gage Herrera, a 40 light, and then the bike breaks. Gage Herrera, 0.2667 with a 4, 200 miles per hour for the win. And then we go to the Northwest Nationals. Chase Van Zandt ends the undefeated streak of Gage Herrera. Gage is on the pole. He loses a 17 off the tree, beats a 25, 672 with a 0 for Chase Van Zandt, 200 at 1.31 miles per hour, beats the supposedly unbeatable motorcycle at a 675 with a 4 at 200.80 miles per hour. What did Matt Smith do? The number 3 qualifier got to the semis and he broke. Folks, I'm going to have to bring out the crying towel. Shout out to Jimmy Spencer. Matt Smith out-qualified Gage Herrera, taking out the 4 white nationals, 3 of the 6 events we looked at. They were 3-3 with number 1 qualifiers. You want to know why you can't beat a Matt Smith? You can't get off the tree. If you put more time working on your reaction time and put less time complaining to the officials and complaining to the media and threatening to walk out, maybe your bikes would be better.
Yeah.
Because in the Auto Week article, he basically said him and his sponsor, Denso, were basically going to put NHRA in a corner where they were either going to do something or they were going to pull out. The way I look at it, fine. Take your bikes and go home. You're the one who's going to look stupid for kneecapping the class because you couldn't get your own way, because you couldn't get off the tree. I am so tired of this when it comes to motorsports. And as I said, pot calling the kettle black. The moment somebody gets a little bit higher than everybody else, all of a sudden they are calling for a rules change. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Could you see where we would be right now in the NFL if we made rules changes based on the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl? Could you see where we would be in the NFL right now? It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you guys, you hear how I feel about it. And I like Matt Smith, but I'm tired of the crying, dude. He did this when Harley Davidson was the factory for that team. And then he's done it again now with Vance and Hines with the V4. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the guy just comes off as a whiner. Jenn, yeah. Michael, what do you guys think?
I have one word. Well, actually, 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
Skill issue.
It is very much a skill issue. And it's frustrating. Like, get to the table with Suzuki and come up with another formula to make those bikes faster. Don't whine to the officials. And Marcus kind of came in at the wrong time. Talking about the Matt Smith issue. And Christopher Lehman, he is listening this evening. Sorry I couldn't make it, driving around a John Deere leading straw bales. Hey, Chris, well, thank you so much for listening. Even though you can't be here tonight, we'll make sure. Can't wait to have you back on sometime soon. You see he's out there having some fun with the straw bales out there, but it's frustrating. And Matt Smith, dry it up, buddy. Dry it up, because it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's very
Go ahead.
childish.
It is. And you're basically putting the health of the class at risk because you do that. We don't have enough bikes. The NHRA could take races from y'all. Because that almost happened to Pro Stock because the category went down to so many cars that they were going to start taking races away from them. And KB Motorsports and Elite got together, begged the NHRA not to do it because they said, we will get the cars to make it a 16-car field. And that's why they have the rental program now with both those teams. They have 16 cars. And then with the Herreras, sorry, not the Herreras, but they have another team out there as well. The name is blanking off the top of my head right now, but with all the teams they've now got in Pro Stock, they're able to keep the Quadras. There we go. Sorry about that. But with the Quadra family and their contingent of 3 cars, they've been able to keep it at a 16-car field and above and able to keep the class going. But if you want to torpedo the class, dude, because you want to take your ball and go home, that's on you and you alone. So before we get out of here, we do have very encouraging news with John Force. The team posted this week that John's back in California. He's now going to a outpatient facility for treatment for his traumatic brain injury. There has been no conversation about whether or not he's going to be in a car again. Odds are he will never be in a car again. But Michael, it's encouraging news that John is back home because we didn't think we'd see this.
Yeah, it's very encouraging news that he's back home. And honestly, I just got to say that man's a tough guy.
He is a tough SOB. That is to be sure.
Tough, man.
Yeah. So we're going to take our second break of the evening. When we get back, we'll have a quick review of IndyCar in Toronto, and we're going to talk about that finish in the Brickyard 400. We'll be right back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, it's your boy, the SoCal Saint, the host of the premier professional wrestling podcast online today, the IE Elite Wrestling Show. If you're a fan and have a passion for the world of professional wrestling, this is the show for you. I take you inside the ropes with all the athleticism, high-flying, and hard-hitting action, and then we take it backstage with all the backstage drama and backstabbing that goes on in the world of professional wrestling today. If something's going on in the world of professional wrestling, rest assured, the SoCal Saint knows what's going on, and he's going to let you know too. If you're a fan, check us out every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on IE Sports Radio. The IE Elite Wrestling Show, your direct feed for all this professional wrestling on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports. Check us out.
And we're back here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're getting into some IndyCar and NASCAR action up next here. We'll start with the IndyCar race in Toronto. And Chris might want to cover his ears for this one because the long drought for Colton Herta is finally over. He takes the win in Toronto, and not only does he win, he absolutely dominates, leading 81 of the 85 laps. But the big topic out of that race was after a restart, a hellacious accident that included several drivers, including Santino Ferrucci. Thankfully, Ferrucci actually went up into the fence, landed upside down. He was okay, but Michael, many a time on this program, we have talked about Colton Herta and his complete absence of luck when it comes to winning a race. And finally, things come through.
Yeah, he finally got that monkey off his back and finally got together and got himself a victory. Happy for him. So let's see if he can, continue the momentum and try and get some more wins before the season's over with here.
In the race for the championship, Scott Dixon and Alex Palou finish third and fourth, so the points loss minimal for Alex Palou, able to minimize the damage, which at this point, that's all you got to do to win the championship, as Alex Palou continues to lead the points 411 to 362 to Will Power. Power on the day finished 12th, so not a good day for him. Not a great day in the point standings. They will also be on a little bit of a break as they come into the Olympic stopping point for the racing entities on NBC. They will be back with the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. They'll be at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois on August 17th at 6 p.m. You can see that on USA Peacock, listed on the IndyCar Radio Network and Sirius XM. So we will now move on to the NASCAR Brickyard 400. And I have to say, guys, it was so good to see stock cars on the oval again.
It was really good.
Yeah. It was a crazy race.
It really was. It was a lot of fun.
Towards the end, right, guys? Right, Darryl?
Yeah, the end was absolutely insane. We're going to get into all of it. Starting with general overview of the race. I listened to most of this on the radio via the Indianapolis Motor Speedway radio network. And can I just say that IMS Radio, best in the business. So it was a joint effort with them and PRN. Best cast in the business right there. They put you right in the seat, even if you're not seeing it, literally, since you're listening on the radio. But for what it sounded like, a lot of good passing, and it really went the way any Indy race goes, which is tons of strategy, and you're not so much racing the track as you are racing whatever strategy you may be on.
Yeah, and the strategy definitely came to play, especially towards the end of this race, where drivers are trying to save fuel. Some are pretty much good on fuel, so they're making the passes, and it led to some very interesting scenarios towards the end of the race.
Jen, what were your thoughts of the strategy? Because it felt like at some point you needed an abacus to try to figure out what was going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the race was crazy with everybody running out of fuel. Obviously, a few teams there did not strategize well.
Mm-hmm.
But
one team made a very, I'm sorry to cut you off, Jen, but one team made a very, very questionable decision, and I'll get to that when we get to that.
Okay. I do want to talk about the fact that there was a little bit of rules controversy, but I think it was one of those things that was not a big deal, which was the early pit stop penalty or the early pit road penalties for Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski those cars were clearly on the racing surface. I know it became a big hullabaloo on Denny Hamlin's podcast on Monday. It's really not that hard, and it goes back to a theme of this season, which is NASCAR individuals will make a mountain out of a molehill for everything, but it's two wheels. I mean, you get four wheels above that line, and you are clearly in the short chute on the racing surface. You're going to get called for a penalty. I think they have to call it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead.
from what I could see, they were on the racetrack, so I don't understand why they were arguing about it. From what the announcers were saying, the rule was pretty clear in the email that NASCAR sent out, though the announcers were arguing about it too.
Yeah, it got to the point where like they had to send an email on air to Jeff Burton. I think that was my highlight of going back and watching the video. And that's another thing that NBC just does really well. I'm going to shout them out. They will do whatever they need to do to explain something in race when it's confusing.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely explain something when it sounds confusing.
Yeah. So they will endeavor to make sense, even when it's confused to themselves. So It's good for them. But we go to the end of that race, and it just seems like all heck breaks loose when it comes to the fuel strategy. It's a 4-car fight. It's Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson leading the way. We know what happened with Kyle Larson the last time he was here. Brad Keselowski, though, is up front, trying desperately to hold on to the lead. The fuel tank is almost out. And Kyle Busch hits the wall with 3 laps to go. And everything kicks off from there.
Everything goes insanely crazy from there.
And some folks question things about, like, why did Brad Keselowski stay out? At that point, you're committed. Like, if you pit at that point, you are going.
I gotta stop you there. I understand he's committed, but it's just like, if you're why wait till you're coming to the green flag to come in? I'm sorry. That part just kind of, it didn't make any sense to me.
He was trying to win the race. At that point, and Jen, you can back me up on this one if you want.
Yep.
You're committed at that point when that yellow flag comes out. If you pit, you're not going to win the race. You're finishing 25th.
Right.
So you might as well take the shot, hope to God you can do a Joey Logano at Nashville where he ran that car forever. The fuel lasts, you get to the start-finish line, you win the race. Of course, there's the immediate wreck into turn number 1, so Keselowski was hosed anyway, but I think you've got to make that play.
Yeah.
It's the Brickyard 400. It's the 30th anniversary. First time back on the oval. You got to make the play.
I agree. I think he was trying to make it, and there were just too many things out of his control with the cautions that he just came up short, and he didn't even have enough fumes to make it.
I guess it's just coming to that green flag. I just see him dive into the pit road, and I'm just like, why?
And unfortunately, that caused the second non-controversy of the race, which was Kyle Larson getting to be the control car on that restart, which that is a normal rule in NASCAR. If the car up front in the line has an issue, the car behind moves up and assumes the position. Larson was the control car on the restart. He did not jump the start. He actually got a perfect start with Ryan Blaney, beat Blaney into turn 1, and was able to win the race thanks to a situation where I will kind of get on NASCAR for, which was, unfortunately, again, Ryan Preece spinning out and getting stuck, which he did that last year at Pocono. And to quote Dr. Doofenshmirtz, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's kind of weird that that exact scenario happened twice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about their decision to let that one stay green as long as it did?
You know, I was really on the fence about it because it's when the car stops, right, is when I think the caution should go out.
Mm-hmm.
The car stops, and we're like, you know, Larson takes the final lap. He's halfway around, and then you throw the caution. I don't know. In my opinion, it's when the car stops on the track because it was technically still on the track. That's when you throw the caution out. That's just me personally, but I know some. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It just comes down to the fact that NASCAR can never win when it comes to these big late race situations because you try to let them race to the end. And it looked like Ryan Preece was going to get back going. If he stays there, I think they throw the yellow.
Yeah.
But then he makes the mistake of trying to get back going with the 4 flat tires. And to be fair, he got going. So NASCAR, they held it. Then he got stuck. And they said, okay, he's rolling, so we're going to try to let him get going. And then he just stops and can't move. And then they throw the caution. And Kyle Larson ends up picking up the win. Everyone is assuming they're just cheating for Hendrick again. But we're only doing that because Hendrick is not in the downtime again.
No, I mean, in my opinion, when it comes to Larson and just how he performed and how Hendrick performed in that race, I think that win was fairly deserved. They played the strategy pretty well to get to that point and not even have to worry about fuel.
Yeah.
So while everybody's trying to save fuel to get to the end, he's just out here passing cars.
And we saw that in those last 20 laps. He had enough fuel and he was going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said, screw you guys. I'm going for the win. So,
yeah,
I don't really think. Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
I was a little surprised that they didn't do another green-white checker when the crash happened. But I think regardless of what happened, Kyle Larson was winning that race. He wasn't backing down.
I don't think Reddick was going to get that one, even if it did continue to go green. Larson, we know what happened with him at the Indy 500 in May, and then he tries to go to Charlotte. Unfortunately, could not run that race due to NASCAR's decision to end that race early at the Coke 600 due to rain. He gets the redemption here at Indy, picks up his first win on the oval. And that's got to feel good for Young Money to come back to a track that he had so much expectation put on him in the Indy 500. Unfortunately, doesn't go his way. To come back, win at the Brickyard, it's got to feel good.
It's got to feel great. Got to feel terrific. And yeah, like I said, it's not only just him, his team played strategy beautifully. Like to get to that point and he's not even having to worry about fuel.
Yeah. I watched the race after it had already happened, so I already knew that Kyle Larson won. And there was like 16 laps left, and I'm looking at the standings and he's in like 25th. I was like, how the heck does he win this?
Everybody was backing down. Like during the race, they had a meet. They explained like they're backing down during the straight, and they weren't going as fast. Meanwhile, he's going full throttle, and he just passed everybody. And
Yeah, I saw. I watched him pass everybody. It was crazy.
It was
And-
really fun to listen to on the
and
radio.
the worst part for me was like they were they were paying attention to the front. So I didn't even see the 5. So at one point I just see the 5 there and I'm like, where the heck did he even come from?
He pulled it Kevin Harvick. He was the closer. I was like, where'd you come from?
Like, I did not see that man. I was like, where the heck did he even come from?
25th. That's where he came from.
So Larson is one of the few drivers that goes into the Olympic break happy.
Yes.
This driver is not going into the Olympic break happy. This news actually broke a couple hours before we came on air. Corey LaJoie, the stacking L's continues. He will not be back with Spire Racing in 2025. And the statement that came out basically made it clear this was not really a mutual thing. This was a performance-based firing for Corey LaJoie. And the question now is first, who fills that seat and what's next for Corey LaJoie, if anything?
Xfinity.
You said go back to Xfinity.
Get ready to learn ARCA, bucko.
Not ARCA.
We talked about last week. I have not been a Corey LaJoie guy. I'm just not. I've never been in on the stacking pennies motif, and he really wasn't that great. And it's unfortunate, but they're trying to go somewhere. They've got Rodney Childers coming in next year. They've got a whole new team. I think the person that might try to go over there, paging Kyle Busch, if we can get out of this RCR deal, because it's back to pre-JGR Kyle Busch right now in terms of attitude. This is late Hendrick era Kyle Busch we're seeing, and he is ready to be out of there.
He's not having any luck either.
No, because he was going to have a
Nothing's
top 10.
going his way.
Yeah, he was going to have a top 10 at the end of that race, and then he dives in a little bit low under Denny Hamlin, and into the wall he goes.
Yep.
So that is unfortunate for him.
Did have a good day. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned it yet. Mr. Bubba Wallace in the 23.
Great points day. Went from negative 27 to negative 7 in the point standing. So that team is breathing a little bit easier heading into the Olympic break that is starting actually this weekend. There are some Olympic events that have started today and tomorrow. First off, you guys plan on watching any of the Paris Olympics?
I plan on watching a few of it.
I will maybe watch it if I remember that it's on. I try and watch some of the soccer.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not on while I'm working, like today, because I was trying to watch the Guardians game and work, and then I found out the women's soccer team was playing, but I couldn't do all three. I don't have a TV in my office, so.
Wow, man.
Yeah. I was at work. I had on my phone some of the handball, team handball that started today. I got home and watched the end of USA versus Zimbabwe in soccer. And
that was a great win.
That was a great match. They tried to get that fourth goal. They just couldn't. But as far as any racing sports, there is a kayak cross that they're going to do during the Olympics. New for this year. Basically, if you've ever seen the snowboard X races in the X Games, it's going to be that on water. I cannot wait because that's going to be really insane. And then, of course, the BMX racing, which started a few Olympics ago. Always a fun time watching that. So I'll be glued to BMX racing during the Olympics. And hey, we'll update you on some of the races that go on during the Olympics and some of the medals during the week. At least we'll try to.
I
It's
watched
really
some
not.
of the BMX last Olympics.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's a girl that I went to high school with dated a BMX driver or rider shortly after we got out of high school, and I went to a few
Oh,
races
wow.
with her. It's really intense.
Mhm. It really is. It's a lot of fun. My uncle, who's no longer with us, actually used to do those races back in the day. So, and that was way back before they were even talking about it being a part of the Olympics. So,
Yeah,
it was a
this
lot of
was
fun.
like 98.
And going into the Olympic break, now the NASCAR and IndyCar will have 2 weeks off, but we're focusing on NASCAR right now. Who do you think is the team that needed to see this break the most?
For NASCAR?
Yeah, and I think we can start
Well,
with the guy we
Corey
talked
LaJoy,
about.
he needs to have a break to let this news set in.
Yeah, he's going to
gonna have a
update his
long
LinkedIn
break.
now.
Yes, he needs to start looking for a job.
It's gonna have a pretty long break now.
Yeah. We just talked about this guy, Kyle Busch. I mean,
Yeah.
everything that can go wrong for him has gone wrong this year. And the season started with so much promise, and then just the bottom fell out, and they cannot put it back in. And he just needs some time to get away and relax. Although there's a cast on his arm now, based on a picture he posted on social media. Don't know what that is about. And another driver I'm looking at, Martin Truex, been scuffling a little bit. He could use a little bit of a reset before we head down into the battle for the championship, which will get started in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he
Michael,
didn't have a good day either.
no, he didn't. He
Started out with a penalty and then ended in a crash.
Yeah, he went back to front a couple of times and just unfortunately ends up in the crash, finishes 27th. Michael, who do you think is very happy? Who is the happiest, to see this break?
The Cruise.
You have never lied. These crews, let me tell you something. These crews have been on the move from February until now. And all the hauler drivers, the pit crews, the race weekend support staff, all of them are going to use these 2 weeks and probably not leave their couches. And it is a well-deserved break. And we've talked about this before, but I think they need to build a summer break into NASCAR if we're going to have this grueling of a schedule.
I could not agree anymore. I think that would be a great idea.
I don't think you can continue to have it where you have this. You start in February, you go all the way to March, take a break, and then from March to the end of the season, you're to November, you're on the move. I don't know how you have a family with this type of traveling schedule.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Outside of the drivers who literally bring their families with you, if you're like the pit crew guy for Rick Ware Racing, how do you have a family trying to do this? Like it can't be for the week.
Oh, that's an insane schedule.
It really is.
What 3 months? 3 months out of the year with your family?
Yeah, you get some time with them from November to January, and then February hits. See you guys for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
It's a lonely existence, and I hope they enjoy this break. And NASCAR, let's do right by the teams. Let's get this break permanent in the schedule somehow. But we're going to take our final break. When we get back, we're going to talk about Formula One, and absolutely nothing happened in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Nothing at all. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break. Here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Through goes Verstappen.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl, Jenn B, and Michael Ward here with you this evening. And we are going to go ahead and get into a consequential Hungarian Grand Prix, which I think, and we'll start with the Lewis and Max collision. Michael, I'm going to keep it a buck. There's a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans for 2021 that felt vindicated when that move happened.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah. And if you missed the race late in the event, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are fighting for the podium. Max Verstappen takes an ill-advised move into turn number 1, ends up locking up the brakes right in front of Hamilton. They hit tires. Verstappen catches air. Somehow that car is not absolutely destroyed. Max finishes 4th, whinges on the radio, gets told to basically shut up by his team. And the FIA stewards ruled it a racing incident. But
give GP a raise, man.
I don't know how they deal with it, but and I hate we're doing this and Chris is not here.
Yeah,
it sounds like we're just dumping on Verstappen.
I really wish Chris was here because we're trying not to dump on him, but it's just like everything that could go wrong for Red Bull did go wrong.
Well, I think also Chris would agree that this was not Max's best weekend. Like on the radio, on the race track, it just wasn't fun.
He was grumpy.
So the reason for that is from what they say, and I don't agree with it, is because he was up late at night sim racing. So what happened was, I don't know if you guys saw this on the news or the Formula One news. He apparently cannot sim race past 3 a.m. or something like that. or he can't sim race the night before a Formula One race. And I don't know how I feel about that because he's already pissed off. And you're kind of taking the one thing he kind of uses to practice before a race away from him.
Well, here's what I'll say. It wasn't a problem when he was winning, when he was dominating last year, and we know he was doing it then.
Yeah, now I guess the car is not as good. And now that I'll just say I don't think that should have been a restriction. I'm just going to go out and say it. I don't even care. I don't think they should have done that. I don't think his sim racing is the issue.
The sim racing is not the issue. The fact that the car is not improving is the issue. And I think
I'm sorry to cut you off there. They brought upgrades, and the upgrades just didn't work.
No. And it's getting to the point where you look at it and you're in a serious situation where Max could lose this championship.
Could.
Aww.
I know someone was talking about, his early start made, the championship insurmountable. I don't think that's true. We raced till December, number one. Number two, the Red Bull's not getting better. And number three, despite the issues with McLaren's strategy, and we're going to get to that, Lando is still scoring a lot of points.
And the Constructors' Championship, that might be well under threat because...
I think that's completely lost.
Yeah. Unless they do a mid-season change or whatever, but...
Well, between Max's meltdown and Sergio somehow just becoming washed, I think that championship is lost to them at this point. I really do believe that championship is going to end up going to McLaren.
McLaren had quite a race.
They definitely had quite a race. And
I guess we should talk
about a difficult decision, honestly.
Well, I guess we should get to the elephant in the room, which is the fact that McLaren, Oscar Piastri gets the better start. They undercut their own driver, and then to clean up their own mistake, they make Lando Norris with a 5-second lead basically pull over and give Oscar Piastri the win.
I wanted to ask you about that. So I was like, what is happening right now?
And the worst part about all of that is just all the guilt tripping on the radio.
First. Yes. It's all about the team.
It was so embarrassing. I'm sorry, Jen. It was just really embarrassing.
It's not Lando's position to fix your screw up. I don't even know why Lando was in the middle of that. You shouldn't have pitted him before Oscar. Oscar was the number one car at that point. He got the better start. Oscar should have been the priority for strategy. Instead, you screw it up with the undercut that you didn't need to do, and you lose Oscar the win that should be his. And at that point, you've just got to keep it with him. And just say, Oscar, look, we'll get you next time. But then you go and do that.
Yeah.
You just ruin the kid's first win. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And
because it wasn't a real win. It was handed to him.
I think the worst part is how this makes Lando kind of feel.
Yeah.
Because it's either you ignore team orders and be labeled the villain, or you follow team orders and be labeled the nice guy, the pushover. And it's just like, that's why I wanted Chris here to be here too, because I wanted to ask all of you, what would you do in that
I'm not moving.
situation.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not moving.
He can either pass me or see you, dude. I'm sorry. Like, I can't give up a win like that.
Like, I've been asking so many of my friends who saw that race, what would you do?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Like, you don't hear them getting on the radio telling Kyle Larson to let Alex Bowman pass him.
No.
Like, what are we doing?
I also said, I'm second in the championship. He's 6 seconds behind me.
Yeah.
No. I'm not letting him pass. I'll help him on the next one. But dude, I can gain 7 points in the championship.
I feel so bad for both of those guys. And I don't know who said this to me, but it's like some of the Ferrari strategists from the dark times have gone over to McLaren now.
I don't know. They're still there, in my opinion.
It's so bad, and it's unfortunate. I mean, if Lando doesn't win this championship, I can't blame it on him.
And if he loses by 7 points,
we know what happened.
that'd be something.
If he loses by less than 7,
Oh,
they're gonna second guess this the rest of their lives.
yeah. And he's going to resent them the rest of his life.
I would. I would too.
Max going to Belgium this week, the last race before the before the summer break. Sorry. Max is going to have a 10-place grid drop penalty for changing a couple of engine or going over his maximum allotment of the internal combustion engine and other engine components. This is setting up to be. You could see a big blow up this weekend with Max, depending on how qualifying goes.
I think he'll still do really well. It's just the thing that kind of worries me is that car is not the RB18. It's darn sure not the RB19. I'm not sure how well it's gonna go. I don't know if he can win it. Just being straight up, like I'm not even trying to say he can't win it. We've all seen him start way back and win this race, but that car is just not. It's just not what it was supposed to be, and so I don't know if he can win it, but I think a podium would definitely be on the table.
We'll see. If he has an issue early in that race, I think we're going to hear more angry Max radio.
But they beep it out. So you just hear beep, beep, beep. I was like, what is he saying? Beep. I can't understand.
No, don't give it a beep.
Well, if you have F1 TV, you can hear the uncensored radio, and it's usually not good.
I figured with the beeping.
Yes.
Beeping left. Oh man, he would be great in Call of Duty lobbies. Let me tell you.
He would. He really would.
I think one time I caught him streaming Call of Duty. One time, though.
Seems like somebody that would stream Call of Duty, to be honest. So the Belgium Grand Prix will be taking place this weekend. You can see it on ESPN in its entirety. And then major motorsports after this weekend will basically be on break until the end of August. So we'll have some downtime to fill the next 2 weeks. And we hope you will join us for that. Well, really just 1 week, because we're going to talk about all the madness that goes down in Belgium. And then the next week, we're going to get you ready for the second half of the season, heading in to championship time, starting with IndyCar and then NASCAR. And we're not going to go all the way to Formula One because we're not going all the way to December, but it will be an entertaining time no matter how long, how many motorsports we get to before the end of the season. But hey, we're going to get ready to get out of here for this evening. Thank you all for listening. For Jenn B and Michael, my name is Darryl. This has been another edition of The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.